The bright, polished studio of Good Morning America buzzed with its usual early morning energy. Camera operators gliding across the floor, producers murmuring into headsets, stage lights warming the set in a soft golden glow. Everything about the place was designed to feel calm, welcoming, and upbeat, like a safe space where nothing too intense ever really happened. That morning, though, there was a strange tension in the air, subtle but unmistakable, like the quiet before a thunderstorm. Blake Shelton stood just off stage, hands in his pockets, boots planted firmly on the floor. He looked relaxed on the outside, denim jacket, casual smile, easy country charm, but inside, his mind wasn't calm. He'd agreed to the interview to promote his new project, expecting the usual light questions, jokes, and laughter. That's what morning shows were supposed to be. Friendly, soft, comfortable. But something about the way the producers had been whispering, the way one of the assistants avoided eye contact, made him uneasy. Michael Strahan, already seated on the set, laughed with the co-hosts as the cameras prepared to roll. He looked confident, polished, and relaxed, like a man who had handled pressure his entire career and knew exactly how to control a room. The audience loved him. He had that warm, powerful presence that made people trust him instantly. To everyone watching, this would look like another smooth, cheerful interview. The red light blinked on. "Good morning, everyone." The host's voice rang out, bright and cheerful. The music swelled, the audience clapped, and Blake walked out onto the stage, waving with his familiar grin. The crowd responded with cheers, some people standing, others calling his name. For a moment, everything felt normal, comfortable, safe. Blake sat down across from Michael, and they exchanged a friendly handshake. "Man, it's good to see you," Michael said with a smile. "Always good to be here," Blake replied, his voice calm, his tone easy. The first few minutes went exactly as expected. Talk about music, touring, life, jokes about country living versus city life. The audience laughed. Blake loosened up. He leaned back in his chair, smiling, cracking jokes, being the version of himself everyone knew and loved. Then the tone shifted. Michael tilted his head slightly, his smile still there, but something in his eyes changed, more focused, more serious. "So, Blake," he said casually, "there's been a lot of talk lately about some comments you made in a recent interview. People are saying they came off as insensitive. What do you say to that?" Blake blinked. The word insensitive landed heavier than expected. "Well," he said slowly, still calm, "I think sometimes people take things out of context. You know how that goes." Michael nodded, but didn't move on. "Sure," he said, "but some fans felt like it wasn't just out of context, that it reflected how you really feel about certain people. Do you understand why they're upset?" The audience grew quieter. The energy in the room changed. Blake shifted in his seat, his smile tightening just a little. "I understand people have opinions," he replied. "But I've never been about tearing people down. That's not who I am." Michael leaned forward slightly. "But words matter," he said calmly. "Especially when you have influence. Don't you think public figures have a responsibility to be more careful?" The question wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't soft either. Blake felt a spark of irritation. He kept his voice steady, but his jaw tightened. "I do think words matter," he said, "but I also think people deserve room to be human. I've spent my whole career trying to bring people together, not divide them." Michael nodded again, but pressed further. "Then why not just apologize directly? Why not say, 'I messed up,' instead of saying people misunderstood you?" The silence in the studio felt louder than any noise. Even the crew seemed to pause. Blake exhaled slowly. "Because I don't believe I said anything with bad intentions," he replied. "And I'm not going to apologize for something I didn't mean the way it's being framed." That's when the tension truly locked in. Michael's expression shifted, still calm, but firmer. "Intent isn't the same as impact," he said. "You might not mean harm, but harm can still happen." Blake leaned forward now, his voice stronger. "So what? You want me to apologize for how someone else feels about something I didn't intend that way?" Michael held his ground. "I'm saying accountability matters." A few people in the audience shifted uncomfortably. This didn't feel like a normal morning show conversation anymore. Blake's eyes narrowed slightly. "I've taken responsibility for plenty of things in my life," he said. "But I'm not going to be forced into a narrative I don't believe in." Michael's tone remained controlled, but his words sharpened. "Sometimes growth means admitting you're wrong, even when it's uncomfortable." That sentence hit hard. Blake's face changed, not anger yet, but frustration building, pressure rising. "You're talking to me like I'm some kind of villain," he said. "I've spent decades doing good for people, helping people, giving back. But one comment and suddenly I'm the bad guy." Michael responded calmly. "No one's calling you a villain. But accountability isn't an attack." Blake shook his head. "It feels like one," he said quietly. The audience was completely silent now. No laughter. No applause. Just tension. Blake's breathing changed, slower, heavier. He looked around the studio, at the cameras, the lights, the audience, the hosts. The friendly morning show environment now felt like a spotlight, like a courtroom. "I came here to talk about my work," he said. "Not to be put on trial." Michael replied evenly. "And I'm giving you a chance to respond to what people are saying." Blake's voice rose slightly. "But you're not listening to my answer." Michael opened his mouth to speak again. And that's when Blake's composure finally cracked. He leaned forward, eyes sharp, voice louder, filled with emotion. "I am responding," he said. "But you're not hearing me because you already decided what the story is." The tension was no longer subtle. It was visible. Tangible. Cameras kept rolling. The studio felt like it was holding its breath. And Blake Shelton, known for his humor, his charm, his calm presence, was standing right on the edge of losing control. Emotion building, frustration boiling, a breaking point closer than anyone in that room realized.